And we are back. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with us on this lovely edition of the Doin Alright podcast, the Friday version here on the Iron Throne, his side of the mothership. We up here kicking it, Brian. Somebody tagged me on the socials, and they came up with this little thing, this image of an Iron Throne with the crown joint. He says, "Man, if I 3D print this, would you incorporate it in the show?" And I'm like, let me take my glasses off. So I put me on one. I say, hell yeah, man. I say, send that mug in there. Yeah. I'll find the address and we'll send us something, dog. Hell yeah. I would love to have an ornament that got Crown Global Iron Throne on there. You know
yeah. Get some creative people out there, though.
Anyway, Bryan Broaddus, appreciate you for being here. This is the Friday Question Day presented by Ownwell, our good friends there at Ownwell. Shouts out to y'all for holding us down on this Friday Question Edition. Brian, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
This ain't part of the questions, by the way. This is just my own question, Brian.
Yeah.
Man, I'm looking at this injury report, man.
Uh-huh.
Cowboys and Washington football Wizards. You gave us the news that it looked like everybody was trending in the right direction.
Trending in the right direction.
I looked on the Cowboy report. It seems like everything's the same.
It is.
But there's a DNP that was added. Trevor Keegan is a DNP now.
Right.
It's okay. Shouts out to Trevor.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but we'll see you in a couple of weeks when we need you. I look over at Washington, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Dorrance Armstrong, who is their Micah Parsons,
hamstring,
has another DNP under his.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin went from limited to DNP.
That's
because of his quad.
That's trending bad for them.
I think that's significant.
Yeah.
And Deebo Samuel for a heel, he got a DNP back to back on Thursday's practice, Brian. That's major, you would say, Brian.
Yeah, we were yesterday on 105.3 The Fan. We had a chance to visit with one of their reporters from The Athletic, and her report was that Samuel, when you watch him walk around, he looks like he is in some pain. Now, he's one of these guys that has had a bunch of injuries throughout his career that he's had to deal with, and he has played with them, through them these times. It would be very significant if you take him out of the mix also, too, with what they're doing with Terry McLaurin. That would be something I think that, now it really comes into focus. How will the Commanders navigate their offense? And we all know that it will be now trying to run the football and then use their quarterback as a weapon, which they have in the past. So to me, we'll see if Samuel, in fact, the injury report will come out later today after our show, and then will Deebo Samuel be on that as an out? We'll get all those designations today, but everything's trending really, really well for Dallas right now.
Then one of their backup pass rushers, Drake Jackson, he went to IR.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So now they're going to roll some miscellaneous characters. Preston Smith's still playing football, Brian. I ain't know that.
How about that? Yeah,
he's way down that list. I'm sure he's going to pop up on that thing at some point. But they're not going to feel sorry for you, Brian.
No, that's no,
bunch of games
hell no.
Without CD Lamb, they starting center and right guard. This is the game. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing that and I've had, my experience of working in the National Football League for 13 years was, you go through these things and nobody feels sorry for you. I mean, your buddies around the league, when they call you and, they just check on you and stuff, they're not checking on you like how you're doing. They're not checking on your team or anything. They're just wanting to talk and hey, what are you hearing in the league and so on, because nobody feels sorry for you. Everybody goes through injuries. Everybody goes through their tough times. And so, this is just par for the course. I mean, Dallas played a game a couple weeks ago where 4 of their 5 offensive linemen were out.
Sure.
Nobody's feeling sorry for you then. You just got to line up and go play.
Yeah. Man, Bryan Broaddus, Smalls HD always, sending something good our way.
Yes.
Shouts out to Smalls HD. He says, man, Doin Alright podcast.
Yeah.
I word it like this, Brian. Why do you think the Cowboys misevaluate personnel on defense?
Yeah.
So much.
That seems to be the really the one thing that is, if you want to look at common threads, and here's my theory. You got 3 different defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
And there turns into a problem with that when you look at continuity within the scouting department and then having to deal with different defensive coordinators. And there's another thing that everybody out there knows this, but I'm going to tell you it again. Voch knows this, so I'm gonna tell you guys again this. Yeah. Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones really, really rely on their coaches as evaluators.
Yeah.
Not to the point that the Cincinnati Bengals, where they have a very small scouting staff and the coaches are primarily your information gatherers, your scouts and all that, and then they pick the players that way. But coaches have a big, big say in what goes on. Listen, there's been some hits on defense, but there's also been some misses. Dan Quinn was very much a roll up his sleeves, get in the middle of all that, go hit pro days, shoulder to shoulder with Will McClay. I believe this, and somebody will tell me different. Maybe they won't. Will McClay's yelled at me before. It's no problem with me. But I believe that Will McClay selected Mozzie Smith because of Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn was pushing for that. And Will and Dan had a very good working relationship. Matter of fact, I think that if Will McClay had his choice, he would have probably moved on from Mike McCarthy and they let Dan Quinn be the hire. I think they were that close. And so it goes to notice that you had defensive coordinators have come in. They've been parts of drafts. Sometimes you get a different evaluation. You have to figure out as a personnel man, a guy that leads the department, you have to figure out what coaches can evaluate and which ones can't. And Brian Schottenheimer, he talked about, well, I'm going to let Will and this staff, we'll see. We'll see how that is. But right now, when you're dealing with 3 different defensive coordinators, I think that's one of the major reasons why your team is the way it is with some of the picks that they've missed on.
That's a fascinating theory, Bryan Broaddus, and I do think that's a major part of it. If I could add something else to it, I mean, think about how the Cowboys have built the offense. You got a 1 at left tackle, a 1 at left guard, a 1 at right guard. Your center's a really good 3rd round pick, I would say. You got really lucky with Lamb falling to where he fell. There's a 1 in him. Like you got 1st round picks on this offense.
Yeah.
You ain't really got them on defense, Brian. I guess your best player on defense is about to sound crazy, Brian.
Yeah.
That's in-house grown is like Osa. He's a 3rd round guy. Like Deron Bland was like a 5th round guy. Parsons was that guy. He was a 1st round pick. Voch says this: Do you think that the Cowboys can invest more 1st round picks into the defense and maybe it'll work out a little bit? And I understand there's going to be some misses there because there's some people that's screaming in my ear right now with Voch. What about Mozzie? Let me tell you something. If you can only go back to Mozzie and Taco Charlton, you're being ungrateful. Just in general. I don't think that this organization has a bad strategy with the draft situation. I still think that they draft well because other teams draft horribly. You know what I'm saying? Do you think that maybe more 1st round pick investment in defense would help it, or is it really just they're so bad at evaluating even a 1st round? Pick? You know what I'm saying? Because we got 2 this year, 2 next year.
Yeah.
I guess some people are thinking, well, having 2 1st round picks won't matter because we can't draft defense. Brian, what you think?
No, I think there's some. I think there should be some fear to this. I know that Zach Wolchuk, who is a colleague of ours on the draft show and a colleague of mine on 105.3 The Fan, I believe he came up with the number. It was like 16 missed picks out of 25. So, on defense. And so if you go back through the history of this team, they've struggled.
Was he including 7, 6s, and 5s, Brian?
He was just, but to your point, your point, they have missed on some 1st and they have missed on some 2nd round
I can
picks.
take missing 2s.
Yeah.
I don't want to count missing 6s.
Okay.
And 7. Everybody misses.
No. But there's some teams that honestly that hit on those too.
Sure, that's fair.
So, there's you hit on, it looked like you hit on Deron Bland as a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
You looked like at a 2nd round pick, you hit on Diggs, but we'll see how that is all playing out right now. But to me, though, there is some type of a disconnect, and this is what's really unusual is the fact that Will McClay is a defensive coach or was a defensive coach. He has a defensive background, but I really do believe, though, there is something that is not right, and I went back to the coaching aspect of it. I went back to the coordinator aspect of it. I don't mean coaching as far as the way you prep them and all. I mean the evaluations. When you're sitting in that room, you know which coaches can evaluate and which ones can't. And you've got to be really, really careful there. You've got to be careful of saying, okay, don't let this coach have too much rope or he'll hang us all. Don't let the coach who's always the loudest banging on the table for a guy ends up to be somebody that can't play. Those are the things you can't have. There is honestly a disconnect, and you're right. Invest more, sure. I agree. I mean, I have no problem with that. But there's guys like we've gone through the draft and stuff like that, and there are guys that have been very, very, very high. Our Georgia defensive end,
Michael Williams. He hasn't really.
He hasn't. Yeah. So all of a sudden, that was what the 11th pick of the. I mean, so all of a sudden you're investing guys like.
But I was very excited for San Fran when they took.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're in a situation.
Cowboys liked him though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So now you're in a situation where you're in the draft room, and I'm using you as an example. Just you're in the draft room, and you're saying we got to take Booker.
Yeah,
we got to take Booker. What are we doing here? Yeah, we don't need to take Williams. Now maybe Williams will end up being a good player one day. Right now he's not. He's not helping them. He's not helping them as a pass rusher.
Sure.
So to me, that's where all of a sudden you look at this and you're saying, if we're looking at guys, and it's not so much the guys that we took, let's look at the guys that we really, really, really liked that are now, that aren't working out.
Sure.
I mean, why do we really like Williams? Why? I mean, did the draft gods save us from maybe making a pick that way?
As a scout, do you guys keep track of that? Like, for
hell
example,
yes, you do.
For the Cowboys, right? Let's just say
Yeah.
there's one dude that's like, hey man, this Tyler Smith dude is good.
Yeah.
Hey, we should look at this BB kid. Hey,
Right.
we should be worried about this Guyton kid.
Right.
Does that dude get a raise? But the guy that says, hey bro, we gotta get Sam. I agree with Coach Quinn.
Yeah.
We got to get Sam Williams right here. Versus the guy that said, man, Dan tripping.
Yeah.
I ain't taking Sam Williams. Do y'all keep track of that, scouts?
Oh, no, you absolutely
do. Those guys get fired when they say, I'll
now,
take Tristan Hill right
Some organizations, they do.
Yeah.
This one, you kind of hang on. You keep hanging on. And, and so if you're the guy or gal that's always in the room banging on the table, and then we go back, and that's one of the things when I was in pro personnel, I'd sit in those meetings and take notes. Because then when the scouts came back and they were like, oh, I really like that guy. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You want me to pull the notes? You want me to pull the notes and show you where you did not like that player? Well, no, Brian. No, you didn't. Don't do that. See, and then Parcells said, Brian, please don't take notes in the draft room anymore.
Sure.
I got kicked out of the draft room from taking notes because they did not want to know, but you keep track. General managers, if they're really, 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 really on their game.
Jerry's not.
Jerry's a businessman. Yeah. Jerry is a general manager, much like Al Davis, the owner and all that. But Jerry is not going out there. He's looking at film when it comes in. He's listening to the reports that he's getting. Yeah. That's how they're making decisions. But Jerry's looking at this. He was like, man, my West Coast scout's really not hitting very well right now. But my guy in the Southeast is doing a damn good job.
Yeah.
That's on the general manager to be able to say, like, we need to think about moving a guy out of if you've got a bad scout in a key part of the country, if you got a bad scout, say in the Southeast where the majority of the players are coming from, and you're missing on those guys because your scout's poor, then you owe it to your organization to move on from those guys. But yeah, most teams do keep a running total of like the hits and misses of these scouts.
Call those guys the lookout man, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
So next time you go, hey, man, what y'all think? Hey, I love this player. We go, lookout man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, that's we had that. We had that in Green Bay. Our Hall of Fame general manager, Ron Wolf, he knew what coaches could scout and which ones couldn't. And when that coach brought up, like Andy Reid would bring up a player and talk about it, we would talk about the player.
Sure.
Some other guys would bring up a guy, and Ron would go, okay, thanks, appreciate that.
The lookout man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Sit down. I got you. What did we miss in training camp? Isaiah said, what did we miss in training camp, Brian? We was looking at this defense, and I was getting a bunch of turnovers, man. And look, we know that when Dak is in camp, he's trying stuff out. He's doing stuff in camp that he'll never do in a game because it's practice. He's practicing, right? But when we're watching defense, we go, hey, man, look, this defense may not be great, but they can take the ball away. If we retroactively look at what this Cowboy offense is and we look at what the defense is now, how come we didn't see the Cowboy offense beating the shit out the defense in camp? Was the defense doing something different?
Yeah.
Was the defense calling more man stuff and we just weren't paying attention because we didn't think that we'll get to the season and they'll call no man brand. Like what was the disconnect when we were watching Cowboy defense to where we originally thought they'll be like maybe the 20th unit in the league, but now they're like 31, 32.
I think it's the pass rush.
Yeah.
I think where I misevaluated this team the most was at the pass rush, because you did see Donovan Ezeraku, you did see Marshawn Nealon, you did see this pass rush. You ever occasionally would see Sam Williams rush the passer. And Voch, I'm going to tell you why I think I misevaluated it, is because you had some young offensive linemen that probably weren't ready in training camp. And now they're having to play. Now they're getting to practice. Now they're getting opportunity.
Feet under them.
They're playing better. Yeah. Whereas there were some guys like the Nate Thomases and guys like that were maybe you saw Booker get quick swim, with Solomon Thomas go around him. But you're getting guys now that are playing that have had more experience, more practice time, and they've gotten better. And at the time, they probably weren't ready to play. And the defense kind of took advantage of some of those opportunities. We didn't see a lot of one-on-one pass rush stuff. If we would have seen that, we probably would have had even a little bit better. There were not days where there was one-on-one stuff. Yeah. You didn't see the Jason Garrett competitive periods in this. It was, Mike McCarthy didn't really want to do it either. He didn't like to embarrass players in front of the media and stuff. We didn't see that. We just didn't see, like most training camps have one-on-one, whether it's corners versus receivers. Hell, we might have seen that if all of a sudden these receivers are running routes against these corners, we might have known, okay, they're going to be in trouble. But the pass rush in training camp practices was actually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the defense getting after it, and I think a lot of it had to do with this offensive line just wasn't ready yet. Yeah. But the more they play together, the games that they got in preseason, and then some of these guys having to play in weeks 3, 4, 5, I think it's made it. I think that's where the misevaluation. You had a defense that was a little bit ahead, and offensive linemen, in my opinion, that were struggling to try and get going, and now they have.
I want to go back and just look at some of those videos and just see, like, man, what was Kyer Elam doing to where he was having so much success early?
Yeah, I know before you got there, I think it was 8 practices or so. I had some practices ahead, just a few practices ahead of you, and he had 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
And 2 of them were on Dak. And you're talking about Dak, he's kind of trying to get, kind of work with Pickens or work with Tolbert or work with Flournoy, trying to do those things. But you saw Kyler, it looked like to me that Elam was a guy like, okay, maybe, but the scouting report on Elam is, and now I see it, the scouting report on him is really good practice player, good training camp player, not very good in the games. And I could see that now. I understand that when people are talking about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Damn, Floos. I wish I had this person's name. It got cropped out somewhere. Maybe it's on Patreon. Maybe I got this question from Patreon. If I don't got your name, pardon me. Come on in the chat and say, hey, Voch, that's my question, and we'll acknowledge you. I appreciate you. I got a question for Friday's show, they said. You guys' opinion, who sees the field first? It's crazy we having this conversation. Yeah. Who sees the field first, Overshown or Revel? I feel like Revel's timetable wasn't this long.
Yeah.
And when I would ask you about it, you would ask them about it. They almost sound pissy to have to answer it,
Yeah. It's not the funnest conversation that anybody has about it.
Sure.
And this is my theory.
It looks bad.
Yeah. My theory. When he got hurt at East Carolina, and this is no disrespect to the medical staff, the trainers, or anything at East Carolina, no disrespect. Sure. But then he got into a point where there was a rehab. And then, so he's going through a rehab, whether it was East Carolina or post season where he was working. I believe he was working here in Dallas with his rehab.
Yes, sir.
And so what happened, I believe, this is just my theory, that all of a sudden you're in a situation where you are trying to rehab, and then you get drafted, and then you go into a program that has to completely redo things. and now it's set you back. We remember there was a time too, there was a video, and I think Tommy Yarish was the one that posted there in training camp, where Rebel was going up for a ball, came down kind of funny and looked awkward. Maybe that was a time where, okay, we had a little bit of a setback there. They hate when you say setbacks. They hate when they say buying time, setbacks. They hate those words. But maybe, to me, my theory, and I'll say it again, they are having to work through a rehab that started that they were not a part of. And so now maybe having to bring that back. Also, too, though, if you ask, I need to ask about what about happened in that practice that we saw where he came down funny on that knee. But the thought, I asked this question the other day to some people in the organization, they were adamant that he is going to play. But it just appears right now that if you look at the situation, it looks like Overshone is ahead of him. Mm. But I think that what we're learning is that they had to redo a rehab, and they lost several months because of it.
Looking in the comments, apparently Allen's 1953 says something similar. That's not exactly where I got it from.
Yeah.
But Allen's asked the same question for Friday. Did Revel suffer a setback? Why is this such a secret? So, appreciate you, Allen. Appreciate you on the back finding that for us, though. Yeah, Brian. It ain't looking. It ain't looking great, Brian. It ain't looking great for him. I just seeing him. And he got some new hardware on his leg.
That brace, it's a lighter weight looking brace. It's still a brace on a defensive back's leg.
I saw the media come out, Joe Witt, Tommy Yards, they were talking to, Marcus Mosier. I think Marcus was being fair.
Yeah.
Marcus like, hey, man, this is on your leg, player. And, Tommy and Joe's like, well, guys have this on, not necessarily like a setback thing, but it's just something that they have on. Right, but we're like a long time removed.
13 months.
13. I feel like we should be far removed from.
Oh no, I think
from any hardware.
I think that you're in a situation right now where it clearly is it's clear that they had some type of situation where they're having to go back through some months where the rehab maybe wasn't on par with what they needed.
Well, appreciate you, Brian. We're going to take a quick break and talk about our good friends here at Ownwell.
Yeah, Voch, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a quick save for your wallet.
Yes, sir.
You're one of those guys. You got all these properties I talk about, right?
I'm trying to be rich.
All around the world. My man Vochi's got all these things. He's got property tax, but Vochi's not scared when that property tax bill comes. He doesn't notice that sting. He's that guy. No, you do. We all notice that sting. With Ownwell, you could sign up in just about 3 minutes. They have no upfront cost. They handle everything. They're property tax people. They handle the paperwork. They handle your appeal. They handle the hearing. They do everything for you. And most customers end up with lower assessments and about $1,100 back. You don't have to pay anything until they save you money. That's what Ownwell does. And once you're in, they take care of everything all through the year. They make sure the savings continues to stack up. So do me a favor. Scan this QR code here over my shoulder, and it supports our show. And you'll get free saving estimates in just minutes. Ownwell makes it simple, less stress, more money back. Everybody wins. Make sure you tell them that Brian and Voch sent you.
Appreciate y'all over there at Ownwell, man.
Yeah. It's just going to save you some money.
Thank y'all so much.
Yeah. Going to save you some money on those property taxes.
Bryan Broaddus, how do you rank the usage of the 6 active receivers this Sunday? Not what you would do, not what Voch would do, but what you think Shotty them in terms of we're going to call plays and we're going to get guys involved. And Shotty's come out and say like, hey, I call plays for these guys, Brian. You can look at that as targets and catches. We'll say it like that. Targets and like handoffs, because, some of these guys take handoffs too. How would you rank these 6 receivers in their usage? CeeDee Lamb's coming back. Maybe they'll use him a little less. Maybe they'll use him more. Yeah. Higgins has been a target monster. Does he get less? Mm-hmm. Does he continue to get that same amount? Mm-hmm. Turpin, do you dial him back? Maybe a little bit. He's smaller. Maybe they want him to be more of a return guy. Yeah. You can't just take opportunities away from Flo. When you gave them to him, he showed up. Tolbert's been getting 2 targets over the past 2 weeks. What do you have in Mingo? How often do you use him? What's your usage? How you rank these guys from most used to least?
I kind of feel like, though, that when you start to look at how they play, and we have an idea about what I think I have an idea about what we're going to get out of with CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is one of these guys that, listen, Shoddy said it the best. If he's breathing, I'm putting him on the field. You know, this guy's played with a busted shoulder, you know, and played at a very, very high level. He's going to go out there. I mean, pitch counts, things like that. I really don't see that. They'll probably talk about it, but if he could play, he's going to go out there and play at probably a very, very high level. Pickens has done an outstanding job here the last 3 weeks. He's going to continue to do some things. We'll see, you know, how the Commanders really handle those two guys. What's going to be interesting is what they do out of the slot. Is all of a sudden, is Turpin going to be that guy, or is Lamb going to be the guy that goes in and handles things in the slot? That's where I think that the Commanders have a little bit of some issues there, you know, with Mike Sanderstill. Are they going to, how is he going to play? So putting Lamb in there, putting Turpin in there, I think. So there's those three guys right there. Now you got to determine, is Tolbert going to continue to be the stunt man that we like to talk about? Is he going to be the dirty work guy? Is he going to continue to be the guy that's the point of attack blocker, the pull blocker, all these things like that? Or could this be a role that Flournoy has? You know, I think that, to me, you have to look at Flournoy, Mingo, Turpin. Those are the guys that are going to probably be splitting up the dirty role that we talked, the stuntman role, where they're gonna, if they're gonna run the football, or they're gonna have to, you know, maybe some short yardage plays, maybe be in there doing some blocking stuff. That's where the thing. I think the other three guys that I mentioned are all kind of set. But how do you rotate? Where does Tolbert fit with Mingo? Where does Flournoy fit? We could also be talking about a situation too, and the indication was that they were going to, that everybody that was practicing, they were going to try and dress all these wide receivers. But they might get into a point then on Friday, Saturday, when they start to think about who they're dressing on Sunday, that they might not be able to dress 6 wide receivers. I know the plan going in was that they were going to try. We'll see how that plays out this weekend.
I'm leaving Pickens and Lamb in there, top 2, of course.
Yeah.
And put Lamb on his regular usage, and I would hope that that they'll still find a way to keep Pickens involved, right, Brian?
Yeah.
I don't want to take Flo off the field.
Yeah.
I don't want to take Flo off the field, and I think that now that you finally have a guy that can play some outside, and you know they're going to switch sides. Flo and Pickens are going to switch sides. I think if you can, you know, as much as Lamb can play slot, I think is a good thing for you. Sometimes Lamb would have to go play the X and the Z because we didn't have dudes out there that could play. We got a bunch of dudes out there that could play. So if Lamb is going to be mostly slot guy, I think you're better, or just the guy that's shown that he could be one of your better outside dudes. I think Flo is stepping up. And look, Shoddy showed you designing passes for him, handing the ball to him. Now maybe when they go 10 personnel or something, right? Running back, no tight ends or something. Maybe that's the time where you get Turpin involved or something like that. And I don't mind you taking Flo off the field for a play and a half to maybe put him in. But I do think that there's something to the big body yak guy.
Right.
And Flo is that.
Right.
Flo can run. Flo's getting better at being a route runner, but he's physical, Bryan Broaddus. And I think if you're gonna have Lamb working in the slot and he's getting his targets, I still want that physicality. I think Mingo should be rotated in. Maybe he'll be rotated in with Flo. Flo and Mingo would be, you know, switching out.
If you had to sit one between Mingo and Turpin, or Mingo and Tolbert.
I wonder how important is his dirty work.
Yeah.
Is Tolbert's dirty work something that somebody else could do?
That's what I'm thinking. That maybe
Mingo's a great blocker, and Mingo may be a
bigger guy too.
Guy. We'll see what that looks like. I'm sure that we're going to see Mingo perform many crack blocks and many, you know, screens and all this kind of stuff. But I'm picking Mingo over Tolbert. As a front office guy, I got a lot more time with Mingo and a lot more reason to invest in Mingo than Tolbert. But I just think Mingo's a better dude right now. But I would have to see it. Physically, Mingo looks better than Tolbert. You add Dak to the party because we haven't seen Dak throw to Mingo.
Right.
You add Dak to the party, we don't know what the hell we got in Mingo.
See, that's what I just kind of wonder, though, if in fact that they're looking at the spot of Mingo and Tolbert there, and really seeing. And we had a whole show about talking about sponsors and stuff. And I think Dak thinks the world of Tolbert. I don't think he gives him the targets and stuff like that, but I think there's appreciation of him. Do you feel like that this is going to take care of itself, though? Do you feel like, okay, this is going to be a game where they're going to dress 6 receivers, and then in the next week somebody's going to sit?
I don't just assume the injuries are going to be a part of this.
All things being healthy.
Everybody healthy, I think at some point they're going to stop fooling themselves.
Yeah.
I think I think these coaches may be, I don't know if you want to use stubborn, determined to get their guys going. Yeah. Flus and Shotty both got some of that in them. I think at some point they're going to look themselves in the mirror and go, hey, man, that's it, bro.
Yeah.
Same like they did with Zeke, the same like they did with La'el Collins. I think all these coaches at some point they're going to look and be like, this ain't this.
Yeah, I think you're going to see initially them try and dress the 6 wide receivers.
Sure.
And then we get to next week being Denver or the following week being Arizona.
Yep.
I could see them saying, we're only going to dress 5. We can't afford to dress 6. Somebody's going to have to sit.
Trade Tolbert, take the 6th round pick, man. Trade Tolbert, take the 6.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, Brian.
Yeah.
You won't believe who got the question of the day, Brian.
Who was that?
Dean Julia got the damn. That's not Dean Julia.
Dean Julia does a nice job.
But, Brian, I'd like to ask a question for Friday's questions. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate having it. All this offseason, Brian, I think this is phenomenal by Dean Julia. All this offseason, we heard that the 3-tech position would go crazy in this Eberflus defense.
Yeah.
The 3-tech position is the key to this Eberflus defense, Brian.
Yeah.
Making Osa like more vital to the thing. Like, man, Osa, it's finally it's time to, you know what I mean?
Signed him to a long-term contract, yeah.
Hey, Julie, say, why has it felt a little underwhelming this season? Or is that unfair? I don't think that's unfair.
I don't think it's unfair at all.
Look, Osa may do his. I was talking to Nate Newton about this. Just bumped into Nate Newton was talking in the parking lot. He was like, I don't think Nate knows my name. He called me young man. What you think about Osa? I looked at Nate and I said,
young man is that's usually how Nate starts.
Youngster or something.
Yeah, young man, yeah.
I said, Mr. Nate, because I'm from Mississippi and I'm respectful. I said, Mr. Nate, Osa gets upfield, and I think he beats blocks sometimes. I don't think Osa makes a lot of plays.
Yeah.
Osa's very explosive. He doesn't have all the football stuff down where he's consistently stacking, looking for the ball. Osa, it's like his eyes closed. He's just running upfield to beat somebody. I don't think that results in plays being made.
Right.
When we see Kenny Clark, we see his path to victory.
Right.
He's going to punch the hell out of somebody, hold ground, and come off and go make a tackle.
Right.
That's how Kenny Clark plays. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we know how James Houston plays.
Right.
No, we know how his path. I don't think Osa has a clear path to victory, Brian. I don't think it's unfair at all to say that Osa is underwhelming you a little bit, because Osa's one of your paid guys on defense, and you're not really seeing the big payoff. I don't want to hear the PFF numbers.
Yeah.
Because PFF probably got a positive number to Osa, like a win rate or something. But there's a film dude's side that looks and says, "Hey man, you may have won that rep, but what did you do in the big scheme, the grand scheme of this?"
Yeah. Yeah, I think to me
And where the hell you at when we trying to rush the quarterback?
Yeah, when we were at practice in Oxnard, Solomon Thomas was playing a better 3 technique. Perion Winfrey was playing a better 3 technique.
You were saying that, yeah.
Yeah, they was playing a better 3 technique than Osa. And I think the last week was it was a difficult game for Osa, because Carolina, their game plan was to mash your 3 technique and single block your ones. They didn't feel like that they had to double team your ones. And you mentioned Kenny Clark. Last couple of weeks have been kind of difficult games. Kenny Clark on the ground far more last week in that game than I've seen him, in a long time. But they mashed your 3 technique, and I have a feeling that the Commanders are going to try and do the same thing. I think they're going to try and run the ball and see if they can with their center with Broaddus and with Wiley and those guys, that if they can mash the 3 and then run it. we probably won't see much of Osa. Him having to deal with double teams. They're going to find a way to split those or put him on the move so he's not having to deal with many of those. But I think it's very, very fair that 3 technique is a big, big part of where it goes back to the Rod Marinelli days with the Warren Sapps, Monty Kiffin, Warren Sapp playing that 3. And, we've kind of seen too through history. You remember Tyron Crawford was paid and then put at the 3 and really didn't have a lot of production there. So it's been one of that you're looking for more out of it, but it just hasn't materialized like it should.
And that's unfortunate because you need it.
Yeah. No, absolutely, you need it. Yeah,
that's unfortunate because you need
appreciate
it.
you.
I appreciate you there, Bryan Broaddus. A good day of questions. Appreciate everybody for sending in questions. If we didn't get to you, my bad. We'll get you next week. You know what I mean? Some of y'all ask the same questions as everybody else, but whoever drops a question first, I'm going to go to them first. But if I got to your question today, appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank y'all very much for tuning in this week. Be sure if y'all want some Crown Global Media merch, the link is in the description. Everything goes back to us, and everything helps keep lights on and pay people around here. So if y'all tapped in with some merch, I appreciate y'all for doing that. Follow us on our socials on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We go crazy over there on TikToks. We appreciate y'all for supporting. The Cowboys gonna go out there. Hopefully they beat the hell out the Washington football Wizards. If they win, they'll be in second place in the East, I believe. Bryan,
yes, sir.
All right, so that's a humongous game for our desperate Dallas Cowboys. And after that, we'll come back Monday, talk about it, and break it all down on film on Tuesday. All right, we love y'all to pieces. Till next time, Crown.